Imagine it's July 6th, 1968. You're Ellsworth Bumpy Johnson, Harlem's unchallenged protector, waking with searing chest pains, aware this could be your final sunrise. Yet you dress in your finest suit and head to Wells' restaurant for your usual Saturday breakfast, because word arrived from the Genovese crime family. They want to talk heroin, Harlem's future, and what happens when the king falls. Today, you'll face 3 emissaries bearing $100,000 in a leather briefcase. You'll have to decide, save your life or guard your legacy. This is the story of how, on the brink of death, Bumpy Johnson chose Harlem. So if you like stories like this, like and subscribe for more. The Bumpy Johnson had ruled Harlem's underworld for more than 3 decades, enforcing a strict ban on heroin. At 62, his heart was faltering, doctors begging him to retire, but he'd sworn to die standing. For 30 years, he'd collected numbers, mediated disputes, kept peace among Italians, Irish, and his own people, and always kept that poison out. Across the river, the Genovese family sensed weakness. Although Vito Genovese lay imprisoned in Atlanta, his lieutenants hungered to flood Harlem with heroin and claimed the riches left by Bumpy's inevitable demise. Younger capos assumed the old man's era was over. All they needed was patience. But veteran bosses remembered Bumpy's iron will, and new negotiation came first. On the humid morning of July 6th, a sleek black Cadillac rolled up to Wells on 132nd and 7th Avenue. Anthony Tony Peels Lentini slid out, followed by Joseph Joey Surprise Russo, briefcase in hand, and the brash 25-year-old Paulie Fortunato. They entered, eyes sharp, weapons concealed but close. Wells was a time capsule. Red leather booths worn soft, a black and white checkerboard floor, walls hung with photos of Duke Ellington, Billie Holiday, Adam Clayton Powell Jr., and in its own corner, Bumpy's portrait shaking hands with Muhammad Ali. At his usual rear booth, facing the door, Bumpy sat alone, reading the Amsterdam news while savoring scrambled eggs, bacon, toast, and black coffee. Dorothy, the longtime waitress, paused mid-pour, sensing trouble. Tony approached, polite but firm. "Mr. Johnson, may we join you?" Bumpy folded his paper, lifting heavy lids to study him. He nodded. "Have a seat." So they sat. Dorothy offered coffee. Tony declined. The restaurant's hum dimmed as patrons realized what was happening. 3 Italian suits across from Harlem's dawn. Outside, Bumpy's men, Big Jack Turner and Raymond Slim Washington, watched from a parked Buick, ready. Joey clicked open the briefcase. Inside, neat bundles of crisp $100 bills gleamed. $100,000 in cash. Tony leaned in. "We come with respect and an offer. Heroin is on its way in. Demand is sky high. We have supply lines from Marseille to Turkey. This is a down payment. Give us Harlem. Keep your territory. No risk. You get 30% of profits tax-free." Bumpy listened, calm as a summer lake. He picked up his coffee, sipped, and set it down. "I'm listening." Paulie, itching to prove himself, sneered. "You've had your run, old man. Why fight it? Take the money. Enjoy your last days. We'll do this whether you like it or not." Bumpy's gaze flicked from Tony to Paulie. The temperature in the booth plummeted. He waited until Dorothy refilled water 3 tables away, then spoke softly. "How old do you think I was when I strolled into Lucky Luciano's office back in '35 and told him he couldn't touch Harlem without my say-so?" Paulie stammered. Bumpy continued, "I was 29, 4 years older than you. Lucky said I was crazy, a dead man walking. That was 33 years ago. He died in exile in '62, heart attack just like me." Turning to Tony, Bumpy asked, "And where's Vito Genovese now?" Tony shifted. Atlanta Federal, heart disease. Bumpy smiled, bitter. Funny how it works. Spend your life fighting monsters, then your own heart gets you. Tony tried again. We mean no disrespect. Bumpy cut him off. Heroin's nothing new. It's knocked on Harlem's door since after World War I, again after World War II. Each time I slammed that door. His voice grew stronger. I watched Chinatown fall in the 30s, Chicago go hollow. I promise this community, as long as I breathe, no poison flows through our streets. He rose and snapped the briefcase shut, latches clicking. Sliding it back, he declared, I don't want your money. I don't want your poison. Joey's tone hardened. We're an organization, politicians, muscle. You've got a few old runners. What can you do? Bumpy leaned forward, voice ringing through the silent diner. Harlem is a promise. To those who built it with hope, who fled the South for freedom, to kids who deserve a future beyond drugs, crime, despair. You bring heroin here, you're selling death. You're killing potential, doctors, teachers, leaders. You're murdering families, communities. That briefcase, it's blood money, and I won't touch it. A sudden pain seized his chest. Bumpy gasped, clutching his shirt. Cups clattered. Dorothy cried out for an ambulance, but before anyone moved, the door burst open. Big Jack Turner stormed in, flanked by Slim Washington, Marcus the Deacon Williams, and Cleveland. They'd watched the meeting, seen Bumpy clutch his chest. Big Jack's voice was ice. What did you do to him? Tony raised his empty hands. We were just talking, he just... Big Jack ignored him. You brought poison to his table. You disrespected him in his own neighborhood. Fear rippled across the Italians' faces. Joey backed toward the door. Paulie's hand darted for his gun, but Cleveland's grip stopped him. Big Jack hissed, You pull that, and you'll be corpses in the East River by sunset. Through gasps, Bumpy commanded, Let them go. Big Jack hesitated, then released them. Bumpy's leftover strength guided his eyes to Tony. Tell them, Harlem doesn't bow. His breath rattled. He smiled once, softly. Tell my wife I'm sorry I missed lunch. He leaned back. 5 minutes later, at 8:52 a.m. on July 7, 1968, Ellsworth, Bumpy Johnson's heart stilled. He died in his booth at Wells, his community around him, unbought and unbowed. By 5 days later, Abyssinian Baptist Church overflowed for his funeral. More than 5,000 souls stretched in line for 6 blocks down 7th Avenue, neighbors, admirers, strangers drawn by legend. The Genovese family tested Harlem's waters, pushing heroin for 6 months, but Bumpy's old guard resisted fiercely. Yet time and greed did their work. By the 70s, younger hustlers flooded the block with heroin. Families shattered. The epidemic Bumpy fought marched on. Still, his stand lingered. Even in the crack era of the 80s, Harlem remembered a king who chose principle over profit. They evoked his words, Harlem doesn't bow. Tony Peels kept that briefcase as a dark trophy, never opened, never spent. When he died of lung cancer in 1987, his son discovered it in a Queens basement safe, still packed with 1968 bills and a note. Give this to the Schomburg Center in Harlem. These are the dollars Bumpy Johnson refused. TP. It was reportedly donated anonymously in 1988. Curators whisper of a sealed black briefcase in the archives. Wells Restaurant closed in 1982, replaced by a garage. Residents had affixed a small brass plaque where Bumpy's booth once stood. Ellsworth, Bumpy Johnson, 1905-1968. The man who never bowed. Here he chose honor over life. Demolished the next day, it lived on in photographs and memory. Walk Harlem now and you'll hear elders playing dominoes on stoops, telling of the day Bumpy sat across from Italian mob bosses and, with a dying heart, said no. Details fade, timelines blur, but the core endures. Once Harlem had a king who refused to yield. He died standing, showing that true strength isn't in wealth or force, but in the courage to uphold one's word against all odds. If you'd like more stories like these, please like and subscribe.